So just a bit of history, at the risk of repeating myself. I was never enamored with the 5D like everyone else. Back when the 5D launched, I was shooting a 1DS, also full frame. Think actually very similar in resolution, if not identical. And it launched 3 years earlier, the 1DS, with way better ergonomics, I felt. Though that's certainly a matter of opinion. Long story short though, just because of everyone in modern times sort of gushing over it, the 5D, that is, eventually I had to try it. And I too fell in love with it. ChatGPT, what's the resolution of the original Canon 5D and the resolution of the original Canon 1DS?
The original Canon 5D has a resolution of about 12.8 megapixels, and the original Canon 1DS comes in at around 11 megapixels, so they're pretty close, but the 5D has a little bit more resolution.
Well, that clears that up, and I would prefer not to be alive anymore. But my relationship with the Canon 5D has also changed when I was first getting to know the camera, and then like maybe for the next 6 months. I was only ever shooting in Jpeg, because that's what was special about the camera. That signature look. Just felt wrong to change it, even at times when I didn't like the look. I mean, I pretty much always liked the look. I just find it to be a little too warm, sometimes, when there's a lot of white clouds, for example. But, I mean, I really like the look. That's the thing, if you make a bold decision about look, the look of the images, it will not work in every single situation. In order to have something that works in every situation, it needs to be more neutral. And neutral equals not special. Thus, I didn't want to touch the images. However, that's not how I shoot with it these days. My relationship has evolved. I shoot RAWs on my 5D like I would with any other camera, and I process them in the same software, often Canon's DPP, which is free. I used to use Lightroom. Recently, I canceled my subscription, but then I got an offer to do 60 days for free, so I took it. So actually, some of these were also processed in Lightroom. I don't even know which are which. I didn't do that much to any of them. Some tweaks to exposure, some tweaks to white balance, that's basically it. So I do start with the signature 5D look, and then I just tweak. And I think that's a perfectly valid approach. Seeing this family of deer made me cry. I wasn't always a fucking crybaby, but I assure you, it is possible to experience so much sadness that absolutely everything in the entire world takes on a sad connotation. You see life, you think death. You see health, happiness. You know that there's nowhere to go but down. You see a family, countdown to that family being ripped apart. Being a miserable pile of shit is like a superpower, though. Nobody and nothing has power over you. What the fuck could you possibly take from me that hasn't already been taken? So, Canon 5D, the look of the images. The look is not entirely color related. It also has a weak AA filter. So you have like these extra sharp, not overly sharp, not ugly, digitally sharpened images, but like just very naturally sharp looking images. And I think that coupled with a relatively low megapixel sensor, plus these older EF optics, it just all kind of works together to create something special. So, I did have to answer that question for myself at some point. If I shoot in RAW and process, will the images still be special? And I feel that the answer is yes. The 5D slots in a really interesting spot in my DSLR appreciation. It's the only one where I became aware of the hype surrounding it before I came to discover it for myself. So, I still have weird feelings about that. However, I do also feel a sense of ownership. Here is what the camera has become to me. It's the camera that's small enough that I can stick it in my bag when I'm out shooting a different camera. And so, I'm making some video I don't give a shit about, reviewing some flash or something. And then I can also, experience a few moments of joy by taking out the 5D. And that's what this camera has become to me. Because although I enjoy, my 1D far more, just a me thing. I have the full-on nostalgia experience with the 1D because that was my first pro camera that I owned. Whereas, as I've explained twice now, I don't really have that for the 5D. I think the 5D is just awesome, but it's not a nostalgia thing for me because I missed the boat. But the 1D is heavy, huge. It's kind of like an expensive collector's item. It's my favorite, but it's never going to be the camera I just shove in a bag with a bunch of other stuff. The 5D is relatively inexpensive. I mean, not even relatively. It's just incredibly inexpensive on the used market. And such a great value. It is such a beautiful camera. And it has this great analog feel to it. Yeah, I like the 1D more, but 5D is great. It is possible to like more than one thing. ChatGPT, is it possible to like more than one thing?
Absolutely. It's not just possible, it's kind of the norm. Most people have a whole
Got it, thank you. I'm so jealous of this person hang gliding. I assume that's what that is. ChatGPT, is this a hang glider?
That's definitely a hang glider. You got that classic triangular wing shape and someone suspended underneath, so yep, hang glider it is.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome.
How do you even get started doing something like that? Sure, it requires tons of money. So because this is the small by DSLR standards camera that I can shove in my bag with other things, I just pieced this video together over the course of the last several videos I've made. So if you were to lay them side by side, you'd see that it's the same locations at the same times of day with the same cloud formations. I would just pick one lens, and that would be my 5D lens, so that I'm not just repeating myself. You know, if I was out shooting a 50 on my R5, then I'd shoot a 200 on the 5D. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think every single shot on the 5D in this video is with the Canon 200mm f2.8L2 prime. A lot of old DSLRs have floated in and out of my possession. When I bought this original 5D, a little less than a year ago, I really kind of expected I'd be selling it after getting to know it a little, having some fun with it. I've said many times that I feel like the 5D series of cameras is an outstanding series of cameras for professional work, but it isn't a particularly fun series of cameras to me. My relationship with these cameras involves years and years of hard work for paying clients. Whereas with the 1D series, I think of being kind of ignorant and inexperienced and experimental. Again, it's a me thing. Well, this original 5D is the exception of the series. I find myself grabbing it all the time, specifically for fun, specifically for the feel and the look. It's very analog. It feels like it's barely a digital camera. The obnoxious contrarian in me wanted to reject this camera, but it's just too good. Some clickbait title that I could use would be I wanted to hate this camera, but I couldn't. A title that I'm certainly not going to use. It's actually quite true, though. Actually, I'm not that much of a contrarian. I didn't want to hate it. That's not accurate. I just assumed that I would be indifferent toward it. But occasionally the mob is right, apparently. Occasionally popular things are also good things. Seems like it happens so rarely that I'm just conditioned to think that if that many people like something, it's going to be trash. But I also like to discover when I'm wrong about something. I don't want to continue being wrong, so discovering that I'm wrong is awesome, because then I can stop being wrong. I say analog, obviously it's a digital camera, but DSLRs seem very analog to me in general, compared to mirrorless. I mean, they certainly didn't at the time that they were new, but I look at them now with different eyes, especially older ones, and especially this one. But also consider this, the sensor itself is electronic, yes, but a VHS camera also has an electronic sensor. and it's an analog camera, and film cameras have electronics in them. So having an electronic sensor certainly does not make a camera digital. But there's just something more analog feeling about this DSLR as compared to others. I mean, the 5D Mark II in my hands, it feels digital. I do love that optical viewfinder. I miss that with modern cameras, but the 5D, it goes like 5 steps further into analog territory. It's impossible to describe. It's just something you have to feel and experience. Am I overly romanticizing something that's just a device with which to take photographs? Yes, 100%. But that's just kind of my thing. Can't help it. While I was out here shooting by the river, I took the opportunity to do something I've wanted to do for quite a while, which is start a new channel that's just virtual walks. I need to drop some weight. I need to clear my head for all sorts of reasons. Just because I like it. I'll leave a link if you're into that sort of thing. I'll leave a link whether or not you're into that sort of thing, because I really have no way of knowing in advance. But from a productivity standpoint, that's also kind of exciting for me. I've wanted to do something specifically for my Patreon, like an audio podcast, but I didn't literally want to post audio alone. So like, what do I talk over? An audio podcast on top of a virtual walk. Why not? So I can just reuse the same video as just like background. And if it were just photography, then like, how would that be different than what I'm doing now? I'm looking at mpb.com, which is usually, not always, where I buy my used gear these days. Canon 5D ranges in price from $124 US to $184 US. Amazing value. So you may have heard that the 5D is special, that the 5D is a great value. Of course, though, buy the best camera you can. Buy the latest, most expensive, if you can afford it, and that's your thing. But if you can't afford it, or if that's not your thing, there is absolutely no reason to feel left out. Do amazing work and be proud that you did it on your own, without a bunch of technology helping you out.